Good afternoon and welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. I'm Rosemary, and this week I am sharing the tag Last 10 Decks, which is from Jonathan Daly's live from Maui recently, and Jonathan has popped in to say hello. Hi, Jonathan. To see what my 10 decks are. I had to actually think about it and think, okay, have I actually gotten 10 decks recently? Because it's been a while since I purchased decks. However, I did find 10 decks, and so we'll be looking at those today. All right. Not much is really going on here right now. Some of you may be aware I've had a job transition for my day job, and I am now rearranging things so that I can write the guidebook, what's left of it, for the Good Journeys Tarot deck, and start some other projects, which I haven't told you about, but I'm sure that I will break my silence on soon. So let's hop right in and see what the last 10 decks that arrived in my collection were. I know that Jonathan started this because someone wanted to hear about his collection, and he was like, oh, there's too many decks to share. So here's the last 10. And yeah, I can totally relate to that. I was really surprised. I have bought more decks than I thought in a short period of time. The oldest one of these is from like the last week of September. When I went to Northwest Tarot Symposium, I came back with some decks, and one of those was on the trade table, and that was the New Era Elements Tarot. This is a deck that has been on my wish list for a long, long time. And it's not an expensive deck; it's mass market. I just had never decided to, order it. I usually would use my extra money to buy Indy published decks, but this is the kind of deck that I love, that kind of blends the energy of the Smith Waite and the Thoth in a meaningful way, and I do really love it. It is sepia toned, and look at that foal, isn't it cute? It's basically the world card at the very beginning, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. And this deck really does a great job of working within the elements and the numbers versus cups, wands, pentacles, and swords. And I love everything about this deck. The court cards are actually mother, father, son, and daughter, which is an adaptation of the prince, princess, king, and queen in some various decks throughout history. And the sepia tone really appealed to me as a former photographer. I loved working in sepia tone, and having this deck, it's been great. I've enjoyed working with it from the very first day that I grabbed it off of that trade table. Gotta love a free deck, right? And we'll see another one of those soon. Two other decks that came back with me from Northwest Tarot Symposium are the Penumbra Tarot by Ethany, which is a beautiful, whimsical fantasy deck. And she likes to say this is like liminal space. And I love the way she packages her decks recently, where the guidebook and the deck both fit in the box. The cards are larger than tarot size, but they're not so big that I can't work with them with my hands. This is actually how I ultimately would love to see a deck. My deck, where everything fits in one box and you still have enough room to put all of the information that you want in the book. So goals, right? And there's the little trim that's all nice and shiny. Gotta love that. And then this is her card backs, which she's been doing on a lot of her cards lately with the gold embossing design, which is just gorgeous. And let's take a look at some of the cards. The artwork is just gorgeous. I don't remember the name of the art. Oh, here it is. Eris Elizabeth is the artist here. And you'll see these just lovely whimsical characters. I still haven't figured out how to get my camera to stop self-adjusting on this new computer. There it goes again. It's trying to center my face. One of the things that's a little bit weird for me with this deck is that rather than a page, they have what's called elements. And to me, it's just really it really kind of draws back on that energy of the ace, which historically and in the thought that's kind of a thing, right? Because the page and the aces share a space on the tree of life, and so it does sort of make sense, although I have always associated the element itself more with the aces than with the page, because I've associated the page with a person who's integrating that energy of the element. So that was a little unique and interesting thing from this deck. And it is a beautiful deck. I love the fantasy nature of it, and I just immediately kind of connected with it when I saw it. I also grabbed this deck by Ethany. I'm not a huge Oracle person, and I said I would never grab the deck, but then I saw it in person, and she was doing this thing where she had a whole bunch of cards from her various decks in a basket, and you could draw one. And I drew one of the Awakened Soul cards, and it was just completely relevant to that time of my life, and I decided I had to grab the deck. The cards are a little big for me. That's my biggest gripe with most Oracle decks, and these are just monstrous compared to most. I mean, these are almost as big as the giant Smith Waite that some of you will be familiar with. I do love the images and her choice of items to include. I guess that would be the right word. They're not really keywords. They're card titles, right? This one is healing. I'm looking to see if I can find the one that came up when I had a drawing from it for you guys. They are beautiful. And again, she does a great job with packaging her decks. There's that card back, which we are used to seeing that be now everywhere for as far as Ethany is concerned, right? Let's see. I'm going to find it. I'm going to show you the one that I drew because that's why I ended up getting the deck. Got to show the inspiration. Look at the mermaid. Isn't she pretty? Gift. Yeah. Isn't that cute? Okay. My poor brain. I think I must have already shown you the card and not even paid attention. Let me go. Let's see. Let me look. Don't you love it when someone going live gets sidetracked? Wow, I may have lost one of the cards. How is that for fun? All right, let's try one more thing. Maybe I put it in the bottom of the box. Oh, well, I actually have, this is the one that I drew, but somewhere in here is also this card. This was the card I drew, which was Shadow. I thought it was just gorgeous, and it really spoke to what I was going through at that time. And so I went ahead and grabbed the deck after I drew that card. All right. So then I came back from Northwest Tarot Symposium, and I had to grab a couple of decks that I met the people there, and I decided I had to go and buy the decks, right? One was, of course, the Trick or Treat Tarot, which had come out around that time by Barbara Moore. I just love this deck and everything about it. This is really the kind of Halloween deck I had been looking for. is, more focused on the costuming and the candy and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not so much the spooky blood and gore, scary kind of stuff. And I just thought the costumes were really relevant to um, the various cards that they were related to. And I loved the card backs. That orange and purple just really popped for me. And I edged it in this black, but the black was like running out of ink. And so I kind of got this kind of bone looking color where there's some black and some white. And I liked that. So I left it. I thought it was spooky enough for the trick or treat tarot. So yeah. And I do love it. And I actually have pulled it out other than at Halloween, which I never thought I would do. Um, because I am just not one of those people who pulls out decks except for at the right time of year, right? Um, most of these decks I have shown on Instagram. However, I've been so focused on 78 cards in 78 weeks here on YouTube that you probably haven't seen some of these, if any of them, um, here on the channel since I got them. Now, this next deck, I don't know exactly when it fell into my little calendar, if it was before or after the ones after it, but in September, or October, I started this series of weekly readings where I combined Oracle and Tarot decks. And so I purchased this Oracle deck specifically to go with the Tarot deck I had already had for a couple of years. And that is the Urban Crow Oracle by MJ Cullinan, which is who also did the Crow Tarot. Even though they're by different publishers, her artwork is so similar that they really do work together. This is the card backs. Again, large like most Oracle cards, but not so large that they're unmanageable. I wish they were a little bit more narrow, like the Penumbra Tarot, perhaps, but the length doesn't bother me as much as the width when it comes to size. And I do love crows and have been looking at getting this deck for a long time. And I relate to crows a little bit differently than a lot of people. Most people see crows or ravens and they immediately go to omens and in a negative kind of way. I've always seen it as more of a positive. For me personally, when they show up, I know something amazing is about to happen in my life. And I've shared some of that on Instagram as well with actual crows that showed up here at my house for you guys. But this is a deck which, if I were going to do the cozy hashtag that I saw on Antoinette's channel, Intuitive. Wow. Tony Antoinette's channel, Antoinette's Intuitive Tarot and Jewelry. Is that right? I'm losing my mind this morning. This would be one of those. It really relates to the fall, winter for me, and the colors are just perfect for that cozy weather. And I almost bought this when it was out as an indie version, and I did not grab it. And I'm actually glad that I waited on her tarot deck because I like the card backs on the mass market version of her tarot deck much more than I do the indie version. So just personal preference, really. So the next deck, I actually I actually got 4 copies of it in the same short period of time, but there are different versions. And so I just took one out to show you. You may already know what it is because I've shared about it before. And that is the Sawyer's Path. I had told myself forever that I was not going to get the deluxe set with the red line drawings and the originals because all I wanted was the original deck. And I kept saying that and kept saying that, but there was no way to just get that deck anymore. And so when I met Jamie at Northwest Tarot Symposium, I had gotten the tiles, thinking that that would do it for me. I'd have the tiles to work with. Well, my eyes are horrible, and I can't work with the tiles on a regular basis. They're fun to play with once in a while. So I went ahead and bought the deluxe edition, and I was like, well, if I'm going to buy it, I might as well buy the transitions deck. And I will tell you, there are certain cards where, like, for example, this Six of Swords, where I love this transition of the red lines to the color. Like, it really adds to the depth of the card for me. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's just her original red line drawings and then her other art. She is actually not going to be doing tarot decks for a while, and all of her decks that she currently has up for sale, they're the last copies. She's not printing any more of the decks that she currently has on her website. So now is the time to check. In fact, when I got my Sawyer's Path, she only had 7 left. But yeah, it's a beautiful Smith-Waite based deck. Love her colors. But I think her deck that I'm going to show next is actually her greatest work. I think it's probably the best thing that she's ever done. Even though I have all of her decks now, except for her the Smith-Waite one, which she did with the mandalas in the background. I don't have that one, but the Out of Hand is the other one that I got recently, and it was actually a gift from Jamie, and so I am just thrilled about that. It's probably the deck I would grab if I was running out of my house, just so I had a deck if when something goes wrong. It's just gorgeous. The thing that makes this deck, I think, her very best deck is it is not simple. It is everyday life, but she has included all of the imagery from the Smith-Waite while making a completely different deck. And I love that about this particular deck. And it actually doesn't feature any people's faces, just their hands. And it's such a unique perspective that adds such meaning and relevance to the everyday, because for most of us, unless we're looking in a mirror, our hands are about the only thing we see, right? On a regular basis. That's the most common thing for us to actually see in our field of vision would be our hands. And I love that perspective. And that's really the thing about having all of these different tarot decks, is seeing the perspective of those people, and to have one that's just the first person perspective of a person is just so amazing. And I love all of the little ways that she included the original RWS imagery. Yeah. So I'm in love with this deck. I read with it probably more frequently than any other deck I have right now. Though I do have some other new decks. In fact, there are 3 more in my last 10 decks. Anybody know what they are? I know Jonathan's watching, and but he may not have heard me talk about this, since I mostly have been keeping them over on Instagram. I think I did mention them here, though, once or twice. At StarCon this year, I brought home 2 decks, and one of those was the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot, because she was there and she was presenting and she had the decks, and seeing them in person and feeling them and touching them, I'm like, well, normally I'm not like a huge mermaid person, but they're so pretty. I loved the card stock, and the chance to buy them directly from her in person was awesome. And it's a Smith-Waite kind of style deck, but specifically linked to the sea and to mermaids. And it's just gorgeous. She is a comic book artist and publishes her own comics. And and they're sort of done in that style that she works in, and so just gorgeous. Yeah. All right, and now the next deck I know I've talked about on here because I've shared how difficult it was for me to connect with when I first got it, but it was like a door gift prize thingy at StarCon, and that was the Darkwood Tarot. Not a fan of the backs, but the front of the cards are just amazing. They are definitely dark. This has really been a deck that has revealed my shadow side to me, and the shadow side of the cards. Another odd thing about this particular deck, being that it was designed for shadow work, is that every time I've worked with it, and I've worked with it several times now, it's always revealed only pentacles in my reading. Which, yeah, definitely the financial and health thing is a big focus of my life right now. What with the job transition and with wanting to make sure I can keep my current doctors and stuff and all of that. It was a deck that was tough to connect with at first because it really, even though the artwork is so clean and interesting, it was dark. I mean, it was dark AF to me, and I just struggled with the idea of working with this deck because there are some takes in this deck that are so different for me, because they focus on that shadow side. Um, One of those was in, I believe it was like this, I think it's the Seven of Swords, where there's literally someone stealing a baby. And, but just beautiful, beautiful cards. And definitely, if you work with this deck, you'll want to read the guidebook because it does reveal some amazing things about this imagery. And, yeah, I do love the deck. Not a fan of the backs, but I do love the imagery, and I'm gonna work with this some more as soon as I finish wrapping up what I'm working on myself, and study it more in depthly because for sure it is a great deck for working with the shadow and digging deep. The last deck that has come into my life, the most recent deck purchase that I have made, is actually this deck. And this is the test print of my deck from 78 Cards in 78 Weeks. And that is the Good Journeys Tarot by Rosemary Sunflower. And I have already started tweaking it and adjusting it to get it ready for you guys who want to have a copy of it, starting July 1st. And one of those tweaks is I've shrunk this sunflower a little bit on the cover here because I decided I wasn't thrilled about it. And it does look like that the 10 and deck are going to be separate, because even though Make Playing Cards can put a guidebook and 80 cards in here, they won't do it. So I could give you 78 cards with a little white book that's like a 1/4 inch thick, but I can't give you 80 cards in the 10. So I have to sell the 10 separate from the 80 cards, because some people really wanted the 2 extra cards. And I'm okay with that. And I'm also okay with if you decide you just want to get the deck wrapped up in plastic and put it in your favorite bag. It's all wonderful. The cards are not in order because I have started using them in my daily polls on Instagram so that I can work with the deck and figure out what I want to change, what I want to adapt, and how it feels and all over the next couple of months. The first obvious thing that bugged the heck out of me was the card backs, because somehow the image that I worked on 5 or 6 different times with Make Playing Card support, still ended up not being centered. And I don't know if it was due to my frustration or due to Make Playing Cards printing, but it's not centered. It has been updated and it is centered on the newer ones. It's the same image, it's just in the middle now instead of off center. So, but that's what the back looks like. All right, and here are some of the cards. So this is the card that started it all. Of course, the sun was the very first card that I designed, and the goal of this deck was always to reveal stories from my life and how the tarot is connected with um, our lives and the moments that happen in them. And while some of them do appear Smith Wade in nature, they do relate to specific moments in my life. And I've added some things or updated some things to make them um, fit in with those stories rather than just doing the Smith Wade image. This one being a very personal card to me, which is why I use the church in the background, people coming out of it for the Four of Wands. And this card was the first one that I edited because this bothered me a little bit. It's not as visible here, but in person, that pink woman actually kind of blends in with that church. So I've lightened the church and darkened her a little bit to make her pop a little bit more. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I will say that the last card I did, because I rushed to get a copy of it in my hand, um, I did make some mistakes with the last card, so it had more edits than anything else. You'll also notice that I made some last minute adjustments from the cards that I showed on the series 78 cards in 78 weeks, like this one. There actually used to be a menu there, which always bothered me. It was distracting as far as I was concerned. And I am really happy with it. If the back had been centered on it, I probably would not even worry about ordering myself a second copy of it, though I would make some adjustments for everyone else. But because it's off center, I have to order another copy, another test print after I make some changes. This card was a complete redo from the original image, and this was based on some suggestions from a member of my community here online, and I'm much more happy with this card now than I ever was. There's only one card that I'm not happy with in the deck still, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But most of them I'm very happy with. I think they turned out really well. There is a flip through of the whole deck over on Instagram. I did catch, after shuffling and resorting the deck several times over the last couple of weeks, that this card was missing its Roman numeral. So I've added the Roman numeral to that one. Yeah. It is exciting to have the deck in your hand finally and be able to enjoy it and work with it. And I will say that I did linen cardstock, which I think is great. It bends and shuffles really well. And one of the things that it did is it did soften the colors just slightly. So they're not quite as vibrant as they were in my original images, which I like because now I feel like the deck is more cohesive. And I feel like they just look better together. And so I'm not going to show all of them because I do, like I said, have a full flip through over on Instagram, and I will be showing them again soon. But I did want to look at a couple of the ones that I have decided to update. I did actually go back to this version of the Eight of Swords. Originally, I was using a different version of this, but this just seemed to go better with the rest of the deck than the other version. Although I'm still not completely happy with this one, it's acceptable to me. Let's see. And of course, I still would love, 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 love to be able to put that bicycle in color, but haven't worked that out with my graphics program. The other card, I was going to show you two cards. Doo-doo. Where are they? There's our title card. Let's see. Here we go. So the activist, which was the last card we did, that Knight of Swords, I have decided that she needs to come down a little bit. So I've already edited her. So she is a little bit further down on the card and the sign doesn't hit the title of the card. I don't know. That just really bugged me. The other thing, which you may not be able to see here, is I made an edit of it to make it look like, the rain was starting to hit the sidewalk. And when I did it, I realized after looking closely at her that I only made it cover part of her body. And so she looks a little weird in this particular image. So I've edited all of that to make that better for you guys. And so the last card that I'm still not happy with, that I'm still planning to tweak a little bit, is this one, which is the artist, aka the Queen of Wands. For me, I just, there's something about it that bugs me. It could just be because I painted that painting. That's actually a painting I painted, and then I photographed and put on the card. Or it's that cat. That cat is not the cat I wanted, but I couldn't find the cat that I wanted to go there. I found a beautiful black cat, but it just didn't work with the silhouette, right? It was just too much black. But that cat just doesn't quite, I don't know, it doesn't work for me. This card has bugged me from the day I created it, and I've tried tweaking it over and over again, and I still am a little bit apprehensive about it. So, yeah, cardstock is one of the hardest things for people to agree on. I had actually considered initially making it available in the linen, which is my preference and the way I would like it to be, and also in the standard smooth. But yeah, this is my deck, which I've been working on for almost 2 years here on YouTube with my guests, going through and talking about each card and working on the imagery. And I now have the test print in my hand and working with it over on Instagram for the next few weeks. If you want to see those daily card pulls, as well as the full flip through of that. But that is my 10th deck that I have acquired in recent days and adding to my collection. It's interesting that with both of the decks I've published now, the first test print, the back was screwed up. I don't know why, but even using Make Playing Cards templates, I cannot get the card backs to line up properly until I've tried it 2 or 3 times. In fact, my other deck, only the third try was right. And I haven't printed it a third time, but I have the copies that I have don't match the current copy that's up for sale. So, right. Yeah, I kind of get that. Although I tried a black cat and I I didn't care for both of them looking so much like silhouettes. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, those are my last 10 decks. For those of you who are popping in towards the end, again, those were the New Era Elements Tarot, the Urban Crow Oracle, the Trick or Treat Tarot, the Penumbra Tarot, the Awakened Soul Oracle, the Out of Hand Oracle, the Mermaid Tarot, and then Jamie Sawyer's Path. And then we finished up with the most recent deck, which is my own test print of the Good Journeys Tarot, which will be available July 1st. I'm still shooting to have the guidebook available sometime between now and October. hopefully closer to July than October now, since I have some spare time. Thank you guys for being here. I definitely won't be around next weekend as I'm going to be out of town. But I will be doing some more hashtags in the coming weeks while I work on the guidebook and get that all ready for you. Until next time, everybody, good journeys. Thank you for being here, Jonathan, and everyone else.